Religion versus spirituality versus integrative consciousness. Who wins in that match? Well, as long as the understanding is that they all relate and there is a symbiotic process and connectedness between them all, then they all win, and winning doesn't even come into it. Winning ceases to exist once that happens, right? There's no winning and losing, it's just what is. So for me personally, my journey, there was a time in my life where you could have looked at me, how I lived and everything I did, and you could have said, that guy's religious. There's another time when you could have looked at me and you said, well, that guy's spiritual. There's another time you could have looked at me and defined me as an atheist. There's another time you could have asked me, questions about what is and exists and stuff like that. So, well, you're obviously agnostic, the process continues. And there's a time where you can look and say, well, he's pantheist or whatever. I've literally been everything there is to be, as far as I know, as far as I've come across. I seem to have been it, right? I've engaged in nearly every system there is, and bought into nearly every philosophy or worldview possible in what is, right, of what seems to be healthy, what people are doing, and yeah, everything relates at one time or other, right? But let's look at religion, let's look at spirituality, and let's look at what I call integrative consciousness, because that's what you ask me, like now you say, are you spiritual? Like, no, I'm not spiritual, really. Am I religious? No, I'm not religious. Well, what are you? Are you an atheist? No, I'm not an atheist. Are you agnostic? No, I'm not. I'm not any of those things, right? It's, to me, I see it as, the term I would use is integrative consciousness, of seeing how everything relates to each other, and just integrating them all, right? Integrating them all, because there's a time when I had this experience where anytime I closed my eyes, I actually saw worldviews, and they were floating around like planetary systems, and they were crashing off each other. I closed my eyes and suddenly I saw every single belief system I'd ever have crashing off each other and bouncing, and chaos, and it was an amazing time. And anyway, something happened, and now I just see how they all integrate, like Tetris, when they all put the pieces together. I see how everything just integrates and fits together and works. So look at it like this: if religion is let's look at it from a mathematical perspective. If religion is adding and subtracting, then spirituality is multiplication and division. Then integrative consciousness is trigonometry and all other higher level maths that come along, that require the adding and subtracting and the multiplication to be able to operate at that level of higher maths. Without the adding and subtracting, you can't understand the higher maths. Without the multiplication and division, again, you can't understand or do this long mathematical equations or anything, right? So they all have their place. Religion has its place. Spirituality, in New Age, whatever, lots of definitions of spirituality, New Age spirituality, whatever, it has its place, science has its place. Atheism has its place. It all has its place, right? And to be able to appreciate all of it, and to be able to work with all of it, to be able to learn from everything, that is when we're going to be more empowered. Rather than cutting off and saying, oh, that stuff hasn't been proven by science yet, so I'm just not going to believe any of that. I'm not even going to look at it or buy into it at all, right? There's so much value there. There's so much value to be taken from that, right? This New Age spirituality stuff, that's just people that are wishy-washy. That's people that can't make a decision. They're all into this like stuff all over the place, No, there's plenty of value there, right? Plenty of value, plenty of things to be learned, yeah? Again, looking at the atheist point of view, oh, those people that they're just, you know, they've got no belief, they're, you know, whatever, they're closed. Those people are closed off. No, definitely some very valid points there, and you know, many very balanced people seem to be atheists, but there's a limit, right? There's a limit to them all. If you just stick in the religion, there's a limit to how much you can grow. There's a limit to your understanding. If you just stick in the I'm spiritual, that's it. There's a limit. You know, a lot of spiritual people, they push away materialism. We need to be spiritual and push away materialism, because spirituality is higher than materialism, is the idea of the people who are in the spirituality box, right? And again, they're missing out on the other half of life. They're missing out half of life by thinking like that, and just setting themselves up for falls, right? So it's important to be able to appreciate everything and to be able to learn from everything. So religion, there's your first foundation. You know, when you're in school, the first thing you learn is adding, subtracting, and then you see the multiplication stuff and you go, whoa, that's a bit scary. Let's just stick for the adding and subtracting, because the multiplication, well, that's next year when I become a bigger kid. That's a bit scary. I don't want to do that. But then when you start to do it, you're like, oh, this is cool. Whoa, there's actually more room to move with this. Yeah, I can expand my consciousness more with this stuff, right? But without the adding and subtracting, it would be a hard jump to get to multiplication without first learning adding and subtracting. You learn the adding and subtracting, then you learn the multiplication, right? Learning the multiplication first, you're missing out part of your foundation. It's shaky ground you're on, for sure, you know. And then from that, you learn the adding and subtracting, you learn the multiplication. Then from there, wow, you've got some solid ground to move from different things here, there, and everywhere. Then you go on the trigonometry and the various other higher maths that you have, right? Then you get the Pythagoras theorem, and that's really interesting. You know, stuff like that. So take a step back, look at the big picture. You know, don't close anything off. You know, the people that say, religion, that just starts wars, you know. And then there's people who say, religion saved my life, yeah. And so there's a balance, right? We can find good in everything, and we can find bad in everything. So just look to what you can take from whatever it is to empower you and to gain deeper understanding and to evolve your consciousness even more. And that's what I call integrative consciousness. Integrative consciousness is where you start really, you know, surfing consciousness. Like, oh, there's something I can learn from religion. You go over there, you surf that a bit for a while, then you jump over to some you know, some spirituality stuff, and then you jump to the more consciousness stuff, and then the science, and you learn stuff from that, and how the quantum physics fits in. Oh, there's some quantum physics there. Wow, how does that fit in here? And then that becomes really interesting. You know, when you can do all that, yeah. And you know, that's how we're really going to evolve our consciousness and evolve as a species, when we become accepting of all these philosophies and all these thought systems and sciences and everything, and being able to see others' points of view, and that's expansion, that's growth, that's fulfilling, and that's rewarding, and that's lifelong learning and lifelong growth. And that is a crucial part of the puzzle of living life.